the summer of 1424, a force of 8,000 English soldiers marched towards the town of Verneuil in preparation for battle. They were confident of victory, their archers highly trained and capable of taking on any army, or so they thought. But the English military commander, John of Bedford, knew nothing of an elite force of cavalry also making its way towards the battlefield. Bedford scouts had reported that the French army had assembled on the plain outside Verneuil, but nothing the scouts had told them could prepare the English for the sight that they were to behold as they emerged from these woods. The French outnumbered their enemy 2-1. And in their vanguard was a massive force of Italian cavalry. Dr. Michael Jones is an historian and expert on the Battle of Verneuil. So, Mike, here we are, pretty much where the English would have come out of these woods on the English lines. What would they have seen out there?
A quite terrifying sight. Some 2,000 massed cavalry drawn up in front of the main French position. And suddenly, the English soldiers would have realized what was going to happen next. This force was going to come straight at them.
This was the ideal terrain for a cavalry charge. A wide, open plateau, baked hard in the summer heat.
The French forces are readying themselves for the charge. A line of archers would have been pulled across the main English position. These men would have hurriedly started to hammer their stakes into the ground, but it was August. The ground was hard. Their stakes would have made little impact. It was a flimsy defense line at best. And as they were hammering away, the cavalry, moving forward with all that weight of armor, would have started to shake the very earth as they gathered momentum.
The Italian cavalry prepared to ride into battle in tight formation. En masse and at full gallop, they had the potential to smash through the English lines. But to what extent did a knight's armour compromise his ability to ride and fight? Weight is certainly an issue with armour, but it's by no means as debilitating as people often think. Armourers went to great pains to design armours that not only worked, but which minimised the load carried. The weight of the armour on the chest, it's thicker on the chest, it's thicker on the helm where it's protecting vital organs. But the armour on the limbs, on the arms and legs is thinner, sacrificing that ultimate protection for mobility. There's a popular myth that a knight, when knocked from his horse, can't get up again. Ha! But like many of the myths about armour, it's utter nonsense. Full Milanese armour weighed under 80 pounds, just half that carried by the modern, fully equipped marine. The workshops of Milan led the world. Even on the breastplate and the helm, their armour was only 2 millimetres thick. But how could such a lightweight defence be produced without sacrificing strength? There was an invisible ingredient: hardness. In the early 15th century, Milanese armourers discovered a way to increase the toughness of armour. And master armourer Emrys is going to make a breastplate using their technique. The secret of an armour's strength is not only in its curved surfaces, which are shaped to deflect attack and give added structural rigidity. It is also in the hardness of the steel. Emrys is heating the metal to red hot. He's about to plunge it under water, a process known as quenching. The sudden change in temperature will create a far more complex microstructure within the steel, making it harder. Okay, so now you're going to quench it?
Now I'm going to quench it. This is the exciting bit.
This will be a very nice sizzle.
Got to get this exactly right first time. Here we go. I got to be really careful not to get it in the wrong angle.
This cold plunge has transformed the properties of the steel. So it's now very hard, but very brittle.
It's very brittle. This is hard as glass at this stage. If I dropped it, it would shatter right now.
So what needs to happen, it needs to be tempered, which retains the hardness, but makes it softer.
That's exactly right, yeah.
The breastplate must be reheated to make it more resilient. But judging the correct temperature is problematic. Medieval armourers did not have thermometers, so they studied the changing colour of the steel in order to gauge the degree of heat.
And what I've got to do now, and this is the most crucial part, I've got to get the colour absolutely right. I'm looking for a particular blue which will tell me when it's softened up to just the right degree. And this resets the metal. It makes it flexible. Springy, in fact, and it's getting very close now.
As the temperature rises, steel turns to yellow, to brown, to blue, to red. It's the craftsman's eye.
It is.
If you're riding into battle, you've got to hope that your armourer had a good eye for colour.
Yeah,
that's it has to be the right one.
You see? See how blue that is? You see the colour? Gorgeous, gorgeous. That is absolutely spot on. That's ready to rock.
Once the metal turns blue, it is quenched a second time, permanently fixing its hardness.
Just a dip, just to cool it off. It's an instant. What this is doing is setting the metal again. It's setting the molecules in the metal. And there we are. And that is a perfect spring hardness.
So that is now ultimate hardness.
That is, it's as good as it gets. Arrows will bounce off that. At
Verneuil, the Duke of Bedford deployed 2,000 archers to resist the impending cavalry charge. But just how effective would his arrows have been against hardened Milanese armour? At the Royal Military College of Science, we put our breastplate to the test. Here's the breastplate we've had specially made and specially hardened and toughened, just the sort of thing they might have been wearing at Verneuil. So let's see how this will stand up to the power of the longbow.
Three, two, one.
The breastplate has been struck at 140 miles an hour to replicate an archer shooting within the killing zone just 20 meters away. Goodness, look at this. There is some penetration. Look at that. You can see the hole. It's penetrated, it's gone through. But look what it's done to the arrowhead. Absolutely flattened it. That's absolutely blunt. But what of the padded coat underneath? I don't think there's a mark on here at all. The man hasn't even received a scratch. If you were an archer at Verneuil, and you would see your arrows sticking out of the Lombard breastplates, but the men still sitting tall in the saddle, it would have made your blood run cold.